Hello everyone, Macintosh here. It's been a long time now since I made any content regarding EVE Vanguard, and for good reason too. This channel is mainly focused on promoting my worlds within VR chat, and therefore topics regarding Vanguard are not as high on my list of priorities as compared to topics about my project. But I will admit, I was very surprised to see that my lore videos covering the backstory of EVE Online and EVE Vanguard have received well over 1,000 views each. For a channel with less than 80 subscribers, that came out of nowhere for me. However, the metrics that I saw indicate that these are outliers, and the majority of the views came from viewers just stumbling onto them via YouTube's recommendation section. So I doubt I'll be seeing that spike in viewership again anytime soon. Anyways, let's get to the point of this video. The point of this video is to shine some light on a concern I saw when looking at the comments on a particular video that was uploaded by Obsidian Ant on YouTube. For those of you not aware, Obsidian Ant is a YouTuber whose content is focused on science fiction games such as Elite Dangerous, EVE Online, Star Citizen, as well as simulators such as Microsoft Flight Simulator, Flight of Nova, and more. The particular video that I'm referring to is the one posted just the other week titled EVE Vanguard, Hands-on Look, EVE Online's Next Massive Game. In that video, Obsidian Ant shows what can clearly be seen as work-in-progress gameplay footage from EVE Vanguard, the spiritual successor to Dust 514. I have covered that game previously, so you should know what it's about. If not, you can look up my previous videos discussing the public playtests that were held long ago by CCP Games. The concern that I saw on the comments section of that video is that many users believe that what we see in that footage, sponsored by CCP Games, is the final product, or about to be the final product. This is despite the fact that there is a clear watermark on the screen with a strong emphasis that the game is a pre-alpha build. However, I am not surprised by this reaction. For practically over a decade already, video game developers have historically showcased a lot of games that were in their closed beta stage, or even open beta stage, and in the end turned out to not be so different from the final product. It is generally understood by now that this is the industry norm, and that anything showcased in the game at all, even in the early stages, is what is generally expected at launch. This would be true if the game in question was already in the beta stage. But EVE Vanguard is not in the beta stage of its development. It's not even an alpha. The official label given to it by CCP Games for the time being is pre-alpha, which means there will be placeholder assets, and what is being shown is meant to be a test of certain concepts. An example would be the mining laser seen in Obsidian's gameplay footage. Another example is the crafting system and contract selection. Those are all concepts being worked on. That means any changes made between now and release will very likely be substantial. This is the equivalent of laying down the cement for the foundation of a house. The cement is not even dry yet. However, because of how the video game industry has conditioned us into expecting certain things for a long time, I feel like we've become Pavlov's dogs. The moment we see the words work in progress, testing, pre-alpha, or beta, we just automatically assume finished game. This is because what is typically shown does not change much by the time it releases, if at all. In the end, the labels are just being used as marketing tools to promote a game and prime the target audience for the release. And CCP Games is no exception to this behavior. If you look at how Dust 514 and EVE Valkyrie were announced, it followed the exact same industry norms, with the beta builds literally not being any different from the final product on their release dates. Even when you look at EVE Online, some of its previous expansions were released despite being notoriously unfinished. The Incarna and Tyrannus expansions are perfect examples of that. And that is why I do not blame any of the users who posted negative comments about EVE Vanguard on that video. A lot of them, if not all of them, have seen a lot of bullshit in their lives. Most have probably never even been to the official Discord for Vanguard. That Discord has all of the information you need to understand what's going on with this game. There is a small niche community in there that has been play testing the game since December of 2023. The players who have been testing the game so far have been strictly account holders with active Omega subscriptions for EVE Online. CCP refers to these players as the founders. The public playtests ran from late December of 2023 to June of 2024, with the next public playtests supposedly scheduled for November, assuming no changes were made to the public roadmap posted by CCP Games. During the public playtests for EVE Vanguard, there were substantial changes within just 3 months of playtesting. Game mechanics such as mining, selecting contracts, weapon modifications, and new maps were added. They were iterated upon and refined during that short amount of time. There were also some internal playtests for a select number of players who signed up under a non-disclosure agreement. Any footage they recorded or anything they saw while playing the game is not allowed to be shared with the public unless specifically sanctioned by CCP Games. The footage seen in Obsidian's video is clearly from one of the internal playtests. Although, with all due respect for ObsidianNet, I think he should have recorded himself with a developer, or maybe some of the other internal playtesters, since EVE Vanguard is a squad-based PvP game. The footage he gave is just PvE, which isn't showing much really. Although, to be fair to Obsidian, I don't think I would have been able to explain the game any better myself in a 10-minute long video. Given his experience covering sci-fi shooters and MMOs, the presentation and writing is much better than one I can pull off for that time frame. He might have had better footage for all we know, but probably was unable to get it sanctioned by CCP Games for public viewing. Or it could very well be that he didn't have sufficient time, as he is a very active content creator compared to me. In this case, the most I can do is expand on Obsidian's video by recommending the users on the comments section to at least join the official EVE Vanguard Discord and check things out for themselves. The community there is niche, but slowly being built up. Many of us there are former Dust 514 players who have stuck around with that game from the day it was playtested to the day it was shut down. Practically 9 years later, we are still talking about Dust 514 like terminally online Pepe frogs huffing medicinal copium, hoping to see it come back. But I do understand why many would not want to join that Discord. No one here should ever be obligated to join a Discord or do extensive research that could take hours of reading and interacting with people just to get a rough synopsis on a random video game they may or may not be interested in. The vast majority of us, if not all of us, me included, prefer short-form explanations of a game if we're not familiar with its developers, its history, and so on. It would be highly unreasonable for me to suggest that everyone invest hours looking into every single game that gets showcased online. With all of that being said, I like to point to a recent public post by CCP Games, showcasing gameplay that was not seen in Obsidian Ant's video. The orbital cannon, the MCC, and the Nova Knife. That's right, folks. CCP Games has revealed on their public Discord that the orbital cannons are coming back. My favorite butter knife is coming back, and at the very least, we can see the Galente Mobile Command Center, or MCC, has been implemented into the game. The orbital cannon is radically different, with clear placeholder meshes, which will likely be replaced before the game reaches beta. It's much larger than the null cannons that targeted the MCCs in Dust 514. The null cannons in Dust fired missiles that launched straight up into the air and turned towards the enemy MCC. The orbital cannons in EVE Vanguard are considerably larger, and they physically turn and tilt towards the enemy MCC to fire a volley at it. And just like the null cannons in Dust, the orbital cannon can be hacked and fought over for control. There is not much information that can be gleaned from the public clip posted by CCP Games on the Discord regarding the Galente MCC being targeted. All we can see is damage taken and how many clone reserves it has. In Dust 514, the mobile command centers, or MCCs, were the default spawn locations for players. You would spawn in inside the MCC's bay and simply jump down through the opening to the ground below. Dust war clones had the ability to land on the ground at terminal velocity using inertial dampeners built into their dropsuits. This is similar to the Icarus system seen in Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, a game I enjoyed playing long ago. Sadly, I had my ass kicked by Viktor Marchenko, so I never really got to fully finish it. As for the Nova Knife, I'm not sure if it will be called the Nova Knife again in Vanguard, as it looks rather different based on the one split second where the knife is visible in the short clip, where the developer that is showing it off does a melee while looking up at the MCC being targeted by the nearby orbital cannon. The Nova Knife in Dust 514 was actually a charged-based melee weapon that was able to inflict basic damage when uncharged, and potentially rip open the back of a Galente tank when fully charged using prototype-level Nova Knives. Yes, it was possible to do that. I ran the numbers. Unfortunately, based on what we know publicly from CCP Games, the Vanguard war clones don't appear to deploy directly from the MCCs. Looking at how the public playtests went, the Vanguard just spawned on the ground already with the assumption that they were deployed via orbital drop pods strewn all over the map. Based on the EVE Online Equinox trailer, the orbital drop pods come in directly from space, presumably from a nearby ship or war barge, which was not made clear at all anywhere. Beyond all of that, we do know that CCP Games has been asking the community within the Discord to provide as much feedback as possible. Even if that feedback is negative, they appear to be taking it seriously. At the moment, the community is not exactly sure if showing the pre-alpha build in such a public forum as big as YouTube was a bright idea. The assumption appears to be that people watching these early gameplay videos from an outsider's perspective will cause them to not want the game when they see a bunch of placeholder assets and simple gameplay mechanics. And the community is correct to make that assumption, in my personal opinion. If you've never heard of CCP Games, EVE Online, nor even Dust 514 for that matter, why should I expect you to already understand the development of EVE Vanguard before seeing the footage? And again, it's not the player's fault either for assuming that anything with a pre-alpha or beta label is already a close to finished game. That's the industry's fault for conditioning us like that. Overall, don't take what you see in the pre-alpha footage at face value. There is literally not enough information to make a judgment about the game, even if you look into the official Discords. But there is certainty within the community that CCP is utilizing the feedback given by the players who participate in the playtests. And it shows. The footage that you see now is actually a vast improvement from the initial public playtests that we had back in December of 2023. And I haven't even touched on the balance changes that CCP made over the 6-month period that ran from January to June of 2024. If you feel that this video helped you better understand what was going on and you are interested in knowing more, I do recommend joining the official EVE Vanguard Discord. I am very active there, and I even post my own project blog chronicling the progress of my worlds for VRChat. That's it though. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and as usual, fly safe.